Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Helen Liao. Thank you for joining us. Coming up in the show today, Indonesia Tzu Chi volunteers are providing more than 20,000 hot meals and daily necessities to flood victims. In our new series of feature report out of the White Tower, we go back to the Solomon Islands and learn how difficult it is for residents to get access to medical care. In Vietnam, Tzu Chi volunteers are distributing daily necessities to help 386 families get ready to celebrate the coming Lunar New Year. In Indonesia, the monsoon season brought massive rainfall, forcing over 20,000 residents in Jakarta to flee from their homes. To help, volunteers from the Tzu Chi Indonesia chapter organized a series of relief missions, including the relocation of 166 residents to the Tzu Chi grounds. Today, Tzu Chi volunteers have already provided more than 20,000 hot meals and daily necessities to the flood victims.
In Jakarta of Indonesia, a huge monsoon rainfall leaves local residents homeless. Thanks to Tzu Chi, some flood victims were relocated to the Tzu Chi grounds, where they had access to mats, quilts, and hot meals.
Here we have received Tzu Chi's relief items and can keep our children away from the cold and rain. Besides, there are even less mosquitoes here, so we're very thankful that we can bring our children to seek shelter here with easier medical access.
The adults may be able to endure the inconveniences caused by the disaster, but the children are always at the risk of getting sick. Thankfully, team of doctors are on standby to care for the victims and their children. Tzu Chi volunteers' wholehearted care also helps calm some of the terrified survivors. However, in severely hit Jakarta, tens of thousands of residents are still soaking in water and require immediate food supplies. To help, Tzu Chi volunteers, Tzu Chi's teachers at Tzu Chi schools and students from the Tzu Chi University in Taiwan joined together to prepare hot meals.
When I was preparing the meals, I really wanted to put in more to feed the survivors.
I find it's meaningful to devote myself to the relief work. I've learned a lot in helping these people.
To help more residents, Tzu Chi volunteers take rafts to deliver aid supplies and hand out relief items to the survivors through aid distributions.
Seeing our homes flooded makes me really sad, but we are also touched because Tzu Chi volunteers gave us hot meals. We feel that we are loved and cared for.
Despite the merciless floods, Tzu Chi volunteers are there to not only hand out aid supplies, but also love and care from around the world.
Tzu Chi volunteers in China are holding their second winter aid distribution in Hainan Island's mainland district. Although the district is a populated area, many senior residents who live in the outskirts have no means to make a living. Thus, volunteers held an aid distribution here to help 1,170 households get through the winter.
Here in China, an 86-year-old senior arrives at the Haikou aid distribution alone. As the temperatures has suddenly dropped a few degrees, the senior shakes with cold as she walks barefoot to pick up her supplies. Tzu Chi volunteers quickly assist the elderly women. This is Tzu Chi volunteers' second distribution this year in Hainan Island. The distribution site is in Haikou City's mainland district and aims to help 1,170 households get through the cold winter. I'm 77 years old and live with my brother. He's disabled, so I'm picking up his aid supplies for him. Thank you, this really warms my heart.
I'm happy to receive this relief assistance. The Taiwanese volunteers are all very kind-hearted.
Volunteers like Huang Bingfa from Guangxi also helps recipients carry their heavy bags of rice. In 2010, he participated in Hainan's first distribution and had the opportunity to join in this year's event as well. However, he feels a difference between the two events.
The last time I helped with the aid distribution, the volunteers were not as motivated, but this time the volunteers are very eager to help out and have interacted with the recipients through activities and such. I'm very thankful for their participation.
Although Tzu Ji is still a new organization in Hainan Island, the past 2 years of winter aid distributions have encouraged many local residents to join as volunteers. Qin Dongping originally came to Hainan Island to see the local sites. However, upon hearing of Tzu Ji's aid distribution, he canceled his sightseeing activities and volunteered.
Tzu Ji volunteers are very good people, and under the influence of local volunteers, we came to join in the aid distribution instead of sightseeing. I brought my daughter along, and although the work is tiring, we feel good to be helping. We let the younger recipients carry their own supplies home, as there aren't enough volunteers. But for the senior residents, we help deliver their supplies home.
Despite the limited numbers of volunteers, the love they send to each recipient is nonetheless unlimited. And at the end of the event, everyone returns home filled with love to last throughout the Lunar New Year.
In China, after Hainan, Tzu Ji volunteers organized 2 winter aid distributions in the area. They also held their first year-end blessing ceremony over the weekend at Haikou City to introduce Tzu Ji to local residents in hopes of getting more people to join their ranks.
Singing in tune and walking in a steady pace, Tzu Ji volunteers from 4 different regions have come together to put on a sign language performance of Vow in Action. Despite busy organizing 2 winter aid distributions, volunteers still managed to spare some time to practice the song. And for one volunteer who didn't have much time, he got up early in the morning.
I got up at 3 a.m. and started memorizing the scripture. I don't know how many times I went through the words, but I just tried to write it all down. Finally knowing it by heart, as I was standing on stage, every movement was a demonstration of my determination. I truly feel that it is such an honor to become a Tzu Ji volunteer.
As this is the first year-end blessing ceremony in the area, volunteers decided to hold the event in a venue large enough to hold thousands of participants in hopes of introducing the organization to local residents.
Tonight's performances were really wonderful, particularly as everyone was united in their efforts. The theme of standing up to natural disasters and spreading love were well presented.
Today, many people had a chance to learn about Tzu Ji, and I think the seeds of love will spread quickly. I am confident that Tzu Ji in Hainan will expand because I saw many filling in the volunteer form today. Everyone was deeply moved by our event.
With only a few volunteers in Hainan, their counterparts from Guangdong and Taiwan joined in the planning of the event's program and shared their past experiences.
Within only a few days' time, we were still able to move in sync. When we were putting on the Vow in Action sign language performance, the effort we put in is symbolic of Venerable Jianzhen's willpower.
Tzu Ji is helping disaster victims around the globe, and we are just doing our share to spread a little of our love. The donation amount is not a lot, but it comes from our sincere love.
In the nearly 3-hour event, Hainan's residents not only got to know Tzu Ji better, but many who were deeply moved also signed up to take a bamboo coin bank home, hoping to reach out to all dark corners of society.
In China, Hainan Tzu Ji volunteers have partnered with the Haikou Sanitation Bureau in providing scholarships to the children of their workers. At the scholarship distribution ceremony, a total of 51 students received tuition support.
Sweeping the streets here in Haikou, China, is sanitation worker Wu Haiyin. She hurries to complete her work as she is planning to attend Tzu Ji's scholarship award ceremony on the same day. Her monthly salary is barely over 1,000 Chinese yuan, or around 168 US dollars, even though she has been a sanitation worker for over 20 years.
I make about $1,050 per month, and that has to feed 2 kids. It's not enough money for us to survive on.
There are many sanitation workers with similar situations. Therefore, since September 2012, Tzu Chi has partnered with Haikou Sanitation Bureau to help 51 children receive scholarship assistance.
When opportunities are here, you have to cherish them, like how you are helping us in our time of need. When I have the ability, I will reciprocate your love to me.
The financial assistance not only lets these children continue schooling, but has also inspired some workers to volunteer at the winter aid distributions.
I feel happy as helping others is like helping yourself. I told my friend that if in the future there is volunteer work, to inform me and I will join.
During the scholarship distribution, Tzu Chi volunteers use skits and sign language performances to spread the message of filial piety in hopes that the students learn the value of giving back.
In this society, we need to learn not only to reap rewards, but also how to give as well. I hope everyone here can pass on the love to their children. I vow that after I enter society, when I have the opportunity, I will repay the love Tzu Chi Foundation has shown me.
Wu gets ready to return to work after she receives the scholarship, as she knows that in the meantime, keeping the city clean is doing her part to help.
The Solomon Islands is made up of a collection of more than 990 islands, yet the country's medical resources are all centered around the capital of Honiara. Today, we follow Taiwanese doctors on their journey to the outlying islands to discover how difficult it is for residents living there to get access to medical care.
How hard it is to get medication. Today, we follow Taiwanese doctors as they travel from the city center of the Solomon Islands to its outlying islands. We want to know how hard it is for the residents there to get access to medical care. In the Solomon Islands, flight delays are very common. The country is made up of a collection of islands, but all the medical resources first must pass through the city of Honiara.
Most of the outlying islands don't have much access to medicine because everything has to go through the country's Department of Health before it is distributed to the islands.
This time we're visiting the western province in the villages of Sege and Arara located in the south. Since the domestic airport of the Solomon Islands is tiny, all the equipment, luggage, and even people have to be weighted. As you can imagine, this means that the amount of medication that can be distributed to the outlying islands is small.
Welcome aboard. 1 hour to Sege. Make sure you fasten your seatbelt. Life jacket under the seat. 6 doors, 2 at the back, 2 here and 2 front. No smoking, no smoking.
Through the window, we can see the beauty of the Solomon Islands. However, after our arrival at Sege, our adventures has just begun.
The outlying islands lack resources. If we take a closer look, you can see that they don't even have a proper runway for the aircraft to land on. It is not easy to transport medical resources from Honiara to the outlying islands. To bring medical resources to these islands, after an hour flight, we then need to take a 40-minute boat ride.
There was once when the engine failed while we were on our way to the village, and we had to wait on the boat until they fixed it.
It is no coincidence that the Taiwanese doctors often encounter boat problems, as during the 40-minute boat ride, passengers often encounter strong waves. Forests that are filled with mangroves, and even heavy rain. The sun has already set when our boat arrives on shore. However, our journey doesn't stop here.
Who wants to sit at the front?
I am so proud of myself. Now we have to take a truck to get to the village.
Without pavement and lights, all we see above our heads are bats that have come out to hunt for food. For many first-timers to the island, it is a journey full of high adventure. However, in reality, it is a pity that this is the only way the residents of the outlying island can gain access to medical care.
In Solomon Islands, children are often seen wearing clothes that are covered with mold. In tomorrow's report, we take a look at the problem of fungal infection in the country. Back to today's show, on January 17th, the U.S. Tzu Chi headquarters in San Dimas, California, hosted a gathering for local Chinese media to express their gratitude for their role in enhancing goodness in society.
On this warm winter's day, members of the Chinese media arrive at the Tzu Chi U.S. headquarters in San Dimas. Every January, Tzu Chi volunteers host a gathering for Chinese media members to express their gratitude for the role they play in bringing goodness to society.
The dishes I prepared today include a cold platter, a Thai dish, and also a mushroom bag. I hope our friends in the media will continue to support Tzu Chi.
During my time at ECTV, I have forged a special relationship with Tzu Chi, so coming here is like coming home.
Even at the gathering, these media members are still working. With the assistance of the media during Hurricane Sandy, Tzu Chi was able to relay timely messages to the outside world.
A week after Hurricane Sandy struck, I was notified by Tzu Chi. We took the opportunity to let the people know, be it disaster victims or members of the public, that there is a Taiwanese charity group called Tzu Chi who will take the front line in helping disaster victims.
We want to invite our media friends to join us. For instance, to join us at the relief distributions so they may have a feel of what it is like. I believe this will add more depth to their reports.
Apart from expressing gratitude for Tzu Chi's media coverage at each event, volunteers also hope to utilize this opportunity to introduce Tzu Chi to the media.
We have seen too many of these shootings nowadays. The reports are so in-depth, which isn't necessarily good for the public. To broadcast news reports which are positive is the responsibility of the media.
Tzu
Chi is about great love transcending borders, so I feel this slogan of great love is worth spreading.
In this era of instability and volatility, with the help of these media members, a stream of purity is growing stronger each day.
In Vietnam, like in China and Taiwan, the Lunar New Year is an important holiday commonly celebrated. To help poor families before the upcoming holiday, Tzu Chi volunteers deliver rice, cooking oil, and other items to 386 families.
Here in Vietnam, on the day of the aid distribution, volunteers wait at the entrance to personally greet every aid recipient.
They are very warm and enthusiastic. I've been part of several aid distributions in the past, but I've never seen such warm attention. For those who had difficulty in getting around, volunteers were there to help, sometimes even carrying the person when necessary.
The two distributions were held in Pho Giao County, outside of Ho Chi Minh City. The aid supplies included rice, oil, spices, and other foodstuffs. Volunteers also included green beans to help residents cool off in the heat.
This has been a moving distribution. It is the first time I have felt such power in teamwork. Standing with the recipients, we felt really close to them and felt that we could really help them.
Also assisting at the distribution were several local government officials. At first, unfamiliar with the process, the officials soon got the hang of it and started to enjoy themselves.
This event was organized very well. These supplies will help these poor families look forward to celebrating the Lunar New Year, and because of that, we have made them very happy.
As the distribution comes to an end, volunteers also help the recipients move the supplies to their bikes, proving once again that volunteers will be there for those in need from start to finish.
Recently, the Tzu Chi Malacca chapter held its 125th aid distribution, in which it helped a total of 609 households. Since Lunar New Year is right around the corner, in addition to aid supplies, volunteers also prepare a feast for the care recipients.
At the Tzu Chi Malacca chapter's 125th aid distribution, care recipients and friends, new and old, enjoy a Lunar New Year celebration. Among them is Lin Cai, who has been part of Tzu Chi for 20 years.
I have known these volunteers for a long time, around 20 years. If they had not brought me here today, I wouldn't have been able to get these clothes. I am so excited because I really like these new clothes.
Another care recipient, Wu Jinfeng, has been under Tzu Chi's wing for 19 years now. In that time, volunteer Lin Qiuyi has been a constant by her side.
For all these years, we have worked continuously with these care recipients. In doing so, we have learned firsthand the idea of seeing suffering to understand blessings. Seeing how some of these people are so poor, I realize how blessed I am in that I have the ability to go out there to help others.
Thanks to all of you, we have the chance to give and change our lives. By giving, our lives take on more meaning.
The Tzu Chi Malacca chapter has been a part of the city for 20 years now, and volunteer Wang Yulan has been there from the beginning.
Doing good deeds for 20 years, I have received so much. Not only as a person, but I have seen how those who have been helped have also had their lives changed.
Through photos, Tzu Chi Malacca chapter's 20-year milestone is recorded, while for volunteers and participants, the event will be one that remains forever in their hearts.
We go back to Malaysia at the end of today's show, where the Kuala Lumpur and Selangor Tzu Chings visited the Selangor Religious School to pick up the faux bamboo coin banks from the students. The money donated by the children will help Hurricane Sandy survivors in the United States. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.